Over the past couple weeks and months, I've heard a recurring theme in a lot of my conversations with both clients and prospects. And that's the idea of balance. And it brings me back to a moment in middle school. I remember it so clearly. It was sixth grade. We were beginning this gymnastics unit, and they brought all of the boys together down to the wrestling room. And the wrestling room was this poorly lit space in the school that smelled like 20-year-old sweat. It was gross. And so they bring us in, and I remember in the center of the room, they had set up this balance beam. And the goal was they lined all the boys up. And we were to go to the balance beam. We were to step up on it. There was a little stair unit, right? We were to step up onto it. And the goal was to walk all the way down the balance beam, turn around, and walk all the way back. That was the goal. And I remember almost all the kids were falling off. And it was my turn. So I step onto the beam and arms stretched out, right, trying to find that perfect point of balance. I remember taking the first step, feeling kind of unsteady. Taking the second step, feeling a little less unsteady. And then at the third step, I was like, I have got this. And I took third, fourth, fifth, and then it was time to turn around and I totally lost my balance and I fell off. Right. And I just remember that moment so clearly of falling off, hitting the mat and being like, oh, so frustrating, especially in front of all the other boys in middle school. Right. So I remember that moment so clearly. And it's interesting that every time that I hear someone utter the word balance, I think about that moment on the balance beam. And when people say, I just want to find balance in my life. I'm just trying to balance, my personal and my professional life. If I just find balance, everything will work itself out. And I think about that moment on the balance beam. Balance is a fleeting idea, right? There was that moment where I was stepping, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got this. And then the second that I tried to turn things around or shift it in any way, I lost the balance and I fell off. Balance is a fleeting idea. It's a fleeting concept. What I would propose is, as opposed to balance, right? To take that off the table. And I would propose an integrated life of boundaries. And let me explain what I mean by that. So let's start with the word integrated first, right? So to integrate means to take many separate pieces to make a whole. And if you think about us as humans, we are many separate pieces that make a whole, right? We've got passions. We've also got relationships that are really important. We've all got families that are important to us. And if we don't take all of those pieces and utilize them in our life, it feels like something's missing. And so what allows us to really hold on to those pieces is the second part of that, which is boundaries. Let me give you a couple examples from my life, right? So for me, something that's really important to me is writing. And so during the week, I have 3 hours that are blocked off in the week specifically for writing. And those times are sacrosanct. I do not move those times for anything. And why? Because if we don't carve out time for ourselves, other people will take that time for them, right? If we don't create those boundaries, other people will step into that. And that time allows me to reflect on what's going on in my coaching conversations, to reflect on what's going on in life. And truth be told, it becomes the foundation of videos like this, which I love to do. If I don't create boundaries around that time, it goes away and this doesn't happen. So I create boundaries. One other thing that's really important to me, another component of my life that I love, is spending time with my wife. And so for me, a lot of people want to schedule evening meetings with me. And It's not that I'm fully opposed to that. I think sometimes that is important because other people can't always fit meetings in during the day. But I only create space for that 2 days a week. I create those boundaries because the evening is time that I spend with my wife as well as that we spend together with our cats, right? And my cats are very important to me. So those times are sacrosanct for me. So there are only 2 evenings that I allow 1 hour meetings. One other thing that you'll probably see from this shirt that I'm wearing is, as I'm sure you all know, spring training is coming up at the end of this month, hence me wearing the Cubs outfit, right? But opening day for the Cubs, I block that time off because that is an important component of my life. I love baseball. I love watching the Cubs, even when they're not the greatest. But that's a time that is sacrosanct for me. So I create boundaries around that. And so, as you look at your life and you think about the things that are quote unquote getting in the way of your balance, I'd ask you, what are the components of your life that it would be helpful to build boundaries around so you can have an integrated life with boundaries that you find fulfilling? I'm curious as to your thoughts as you listen to this. What comes up for you?